On this week's episode, we're going to be looking at the 5 most damaging lies that shift workers tell themselves. We're going to be looking across a range of factors, including health and fitness, around the job, and also around mindset in general. First up, we've got that caffeine is a substitute for sleep. You know the feeling you've had 5 hours sleep before you're first early, you wake up feeling like you can't even believe you're alive, you need one coffee to start feeling like you might be able to function, you maybe have another one on the way to work, you have one in briefing, you have one mid-morning from a takeaway, you have your lunch, and then you start to have that mid-afternoon crash, you have another one, and you get home, and you've got that kind of mixture of exhausted but wired, and you're kind of not really sure what you're feeling like you're feeling. It's because of how much caffeine you've got and how tired you are, and you're kind of riding that caffeine roller coaster all day. The adenosine builds up, which is a tiredness hormone, and you're counteracting that with the caffeine, and then the adenosine builds, and you have to put more caffeine in, and you're constantly chasing, trying to cover up, essentially, from the poor night's sleep that you had before. A lot of people use caffeine as a crutch as shift workers, and whilst it can be a very effective drug, it shouldn't be abused, because then when you actually need it, it never works as you want it to. And I think a lot of the reason people feel so exhausted after work is because they haven't had that sleep. They've relied on caffeine, and then when it comes to wanting to go to the gym or eat the right foods, they feel like they're lacking energy, they feel like they're not feeling themselves, and it makes staying on track with a lot of things very difficult. And it all comes down to not having gone to bed and got sufficient sleep the night before. Another thing to consider is that the half-life of caffeine is 6 hours. So for example, if you have 100 milligrams of caffeine at 12 noon, by 6 p.m. in the evening, you've still got 50 milligrams of caffeine in your bloodstream, which you probably can just about feel. If you've had coffee when you wake up, coffee on the way to work, coffee in briefing, a coffee mid-morning, a coffee in the afternoon, you've potentially had 300 or 400 milligrams of caffeine across the day. It takes a long time for that caffeine to get out of your system. And if you've had 5 hours sleep, you're then trying to go to sleep at 10 p.m. for your the next day, you might have 100 milligrams of caffeine still in your bloodstream. And whilst you can fall asleep probably because you're so exhausted, the quality of the sleep that you get is affected. It takes longer to get into the REM sleep state, which is arguably the most important and the one that if you are deprived of will kill you the soonest. You might find as a shift worker that a lot of the time you feel like you have these really crazy vivid dreams, and a lot of the time that's because you didn't get into the REM sleep state until the end of your sleep. Because if you get into it at the start, you forget your dreams. It's the dreams that you have right before you wake up that you remember. And if you're in a deep REM state sleep before you wake up, it means that the quality of sleep that you got at the start wasn't good enough. Caffeine 100% will reduce that sleep quality. So not only have you reduced your sleep quantity, you reduce the quality as well. And you're relying on caffeine as a crutch. It's a really bad place to get into. And number 2, this is particularly pertinent for younger in-service officers, and it's that your organisation values you. When you join the job, the police or ambulance service, you feel like you're there to make a difference, the public need you, your colleagues need you, and the role that you're doing is far more important than what's going on in your home life. Therefore, you become infatuated with the job. You basically live to work. You neglect yourself at home, justifying that you need to rest to make sure you're feeling better for work, doing extra hours at home, maybe on your work phone, never really switching off, feeling that you are a vital cog in whichever role you're in. Nothing could be further from the truth. You can be the best officer in the world, and they can be taken out of the job and be replaced within a few weeks, and people kind of forget about them really quickly. And that's the best officers. The younger in service you are, the more expendable you are. But there's this direct inversion between how long you've been in and how important you think you are, to the longer that you've been in and the less important that you know you are. Don't fall into that trap. Do not neglect yourself, because that's something that I did. 4 years I was, I don't want to say addicted to the job, but justified everything that wasn't right in my home life as being better for the job. Resting, not going to the gym. You know all the kind of little traps that you fall into? You fall into one and you're on a massive slippery slope, and it's just a race to the bottom, and so many people fall for it. It's sad. All I can do is try and make you aware of it now and hope that you don't get affected by it in the same way, or at least reduce your exposure to the issue. So yeah, take that on board if you are new in service. Look after yourself first. The old adage about when you're on an aeroplane, you put your own mask on before helping other people. Most police officers now and paramedics are putting everyone else's masks on, and then they're gasping for air. They can't help any more people. They crash and they burn and they're done and they're finished in the job, because if they'd have just looked after themselves, they could have had way more longevity in the job. They could have stayed in that career for far longer. And I think a lot of the reason a lot of people leave so soon is because they go in, they feel they're exhausted, they feel they're burnt out, and they are legitimately burnt out. But there were steps that they could have taken earlier on in their career, arrested those kind of bad habits and replaced them with good ones, and that could have enabled you to stay in the job for longer and had a more prosperous career, not have to then leave and then look for another job. Line number 3 is, I passed the bleep test, I'm fit for duty. I've talked about this one many times, that the reduction of the bleep test from 5.4 to 3.6, 3.7, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference, it's pathetic, is giving police officers this false belief that they're fit to do the job because they passed the OST, the standard fitness test. For me, nothing could be further from the truth. They might as well do a pulse check. They might as well check that you can breathe, because if you can't get to 3.7, you probably can't walk. That's not good enough standard. I'm sick of tired of seeing all these videos online now of police officers either chasing after somebody and they can't catch up with them, and the person they're chasing really shouldn't be getting away from them, or they're using the big red key on a UPVC door and 2 or 3 of them having to go and they can't put it through. That's not acceptable. That's not good enough. And there's the public are there on their phones laughing at the officers because the officers are simply not fit enough to do the job. Yeah, those officers probably thought, oh, I've passed my PST level 2 or my MOE course, I'm fit enough. It's not basic. The only reason that they have such low standard of fitness tests in the police is to get bums on seats. If the bleep test was 8, for example, for a response officer, probably half of response officers would be on restricted duty, and the force simply couldn't have that because they'd be getting absolutely hammered on their response times. Services to victims would be getting lower. So what the police are happy to do is sacrifice the integrity of the force, sacrifice the effectiveness of the fitness of the force in the aid of getting more bums on seats. And it all comes down to the fact that they simply can't get enough officers in the door in the first place because police are getting bad at kicking in the press. These videos do appear online, it puts officers off applying, and it's just a tragic state of affairs. So yeah, just because you can pass the bleep test does not mean that you are fit enough. For me, if you're a police officer and you're not going to the gym, doing some resistance training, lifting some weights, having a fair level of cardio, you couldn't do a 5k, I personally don't think that's good enough. What would the public expect of a police officer? The public expect when they see a police officer is for them to be able to jump out of somebody, chase them down, grab them, get them detained. That's what makes the public feel safe. Every time a video comes out or a police officer doesn't chase a suspect, it just puts more pressure on. All these little things they build and they build and they build, and unfortunately with policing, it seems like it takes an eternity to build trust and recognition that the police service is good, but only 1 or 2 incidents for it all to come tumbling down. And there's just far too many of these incidents where officers are not looking good on camera, and then everyone has this massive view that all officers are crap. And they're not all crap. A lot of them are. A lot of them don't have, for me, the required standard to be a police officer. So, yeah, for me, if you can't get out of a car, chase someone down, cuff them up, yeah, you can use your carver if you want. As long as you can do that, that's what the public would expect, and that's the standard that you should be at. Number 4 is, I haven't got time to meal prep and track my nutrition. Fine. If you feel like you haven't got the time to do that, I'm going to tell you now that you're wrong. And you're simply using that as an excuse for you not doing it and saying that it's time. I've got clients inside the Shift Worker Shred who are response officers, and they are training for an Ironman triathlon, and they're doing 10 to 12 hours of cardio every week, and they're spending an hour and a half in the gym. So what's that? 14 and a half to 16 and a half hours a week in the gym or training. And yet there's some officers out there that say they haven't got 3 hours a week to go to the gym, another hour to do some meal prep. Bollocks. The reason I'm on about prepping all the time is because of the officers we've had inside the Shift Worker Shred, we've had over 400 now since January last year. The ones that are making the best progress are the ones that track their food all of the time. Tracking your food all the time doesn't just allow you to see what you're eating, it's also indicative of the effort that you're putting into your journey. If you cannot be bothered to track your carbs, your macros, proteins, etc., what else can you not be bothered to do? It's one of those little tasks, which is time consuming, but you can make it easier by meal prepping, by thinking about things ahead of time and putting some actual effort into the journey. If you're trying to get in shape and you're skipping breakfast, you're going to get a meal deal at lunch, you're having pasta with no protein for dinner, or you're having toast for breakfast, it's no wonder you can't get in shape, because you're not putting the effort in. You might think you are, but you're really not. You have to be smart with your effort, not just, if you feel like putting effort in, but you're actually not following some kind of regime with it that's actually proven to work, you're kind of wasting your time. And if you blame the time issue, it doesn't wash. It's just an excuse for why you're not doing it. When the reality is, you probably know by now that tracking macros and tracking your food is a very good way to guarantee you're going to get in shape really quickly, because it's basic science. If your maintenance level is 2,500 calories a day, for example, and you're tracking your macros and you're getting sufficient protein and you're hitting that calorie deficit every day, the results are almost guaranteed to come. The only issues might be if you're mistracking food, or occasionally food is not what you think it is, or it's got calories, blah blah blah, or time of the month, whatever. There's all these things can kind of make a difference to overall kind of metabolic regulation. So yeah, if you're not tracking your calories and your macros overall, then you're not going to have a good time on your fitness journey. And the fifth and final one is, I'm going to start getting in shape soon. Fine. The reality behind this statement, this lie, is that it's essentially saying that there is a reason why I can't do this now, and it's usually something's happening, something's coming up. But that makes the assumption that, for me, next time you get busy again, you're going to stop. Are you going to, okay, for example, the other day, probably Monday last week, I spoke to a lad. He's been overweight for years, police officer on response, and we had a good chat. And he definitely needs help, and he acknowledges that. And he's going on holiday to America in 6 weeks. And we had a discussion about whether he should start now or whether he should start when he gets back. And I was trying to say to him, like, it's 6 weeks, that's a lot of time to make a lot of progress. And then when you go on holiday, you're going to have progress that you don't want to undo. And he chose to go with, I'll probably start when I get back from holiday. I'll tell you now, that guy will never work with me, because I will not allow him to, because of his mindset. That is the mindset of a loser. That is the mindset of somebody that will never get in shape. Because if you think you're always going to if it's something that you don't want to do now, why do you think you're going to want to do it in 6 weeks? Why do you think you're going to want to do it in 12 months? If you don't want to do it now, you're almost certainly not going to stick with it. And it's the same with the New Year, New Me crowd. 80% of New Year's resolutions are finished by the end of January. And that's because it's just it's a mindset of, I'm assuming I'm going to want to do it later. But the reality is you won't, and that's why so many fail, because the mindset isn't there. On a fitness journey, for me, you've got training, exercise, you've got the nutrition, and the bottom, you've got mindset. Mindset is fundamental. If you don't have the mindset, the training and the nutrition will fall down. And it's kind of pointless ever starting, because you'll get into this either all or nothing. It's like, right, I'm going to start my fitness journey next week and I'm going to be perfect every day. I'm going to hit the gym 5 times a week. I'm going to stick to my calorie target religiously. And then you have a day off and it's like, oh, it's all falling apart. I can't do it. It's not right for me. That was because your mindset was completely wrong. You thought that fitness needed to be all or nothing. It's very much not like that. Fitness is let's find a sustainable journey that you can stick with, and that's going to give you the longest results long term. So yeah, mindset of feeling like you're going to start soon is indicative of overall poor view on how health and fitness works. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you guys next week.